Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and not about all of the fancy features that you get with this watch, but how I actually have it set up and how I use it on a day-to-day basis. So with that in mind, let's jump straight in. Now, I'm going to talk to you first about how I have this set up, but just a bit of a caveat. You don't have to have an Apple Watch Ultra to have this set up. The reason I have the Apple Watch Ultra is because I like how it looks. So I have my Apple Watch set up in a specific way, so very much geared around fitness, which we'll talk about in the next section. But I have the complications on here. So I have my fitness rings, which we all know and love to complete. I also have my fitness, so I can just quickly tap in and then I can choose whichever exercise that I'm doing at that particular time, whether it be a run or an outdoor walk or a strength exercise, whatever. Then I do have a couple of other things. So I have my battery, so I always know what the charge is on the watch. But then I have weather. So this is an important one for me. I love to know what the weather's doing, especially living in the UK. So I have the central widget app, which gives me a hour by hour view, but I also have the other complication in the lower right, which shows the temperature. And that's basically how I have it set up. It's a really simple complication. Obviously I've got the time and the date on there, which, you know, foremost, it is a watch, and that is mainly what I do use it for, telling the time, which is, you know, what we all need a watch for. But yeah, let's move into fitness. And this is really the main thing I have my Apple Watch Ultra for. So I have my watch connected to my health insurance, which is Vitality. So being able to track exercise and steps is really important for me because I then get the perks that come with having the Vitality in terms of points, which equates to being able to get free coffee and so on and so on. So I am constantly tracking how many steps I'm getting in per day. I aim for 10,000, but you know, I don't always hit that. So 7 is kind of my average at the moment. But also I like to be able to track my activities in terms of if I'm going for an outdoor walk or if I'm doing a run or a strength exercise. So it gives me a track of which days I'm doing those exercises on. I also like to keep track of my VO2 max, as I think this is one of the key indicators of fitness. So, you know, doing the exercises and tracking those feeds into that VO2 max. So I like to check that on a weekly basis to see if that's going up or down, and generally just checking out my activity. So I like to track those rings as mentioned before. So, you know, if it's still quite a way off, I can see that, I can get up, I can go for a little walk, or if I'm not hitting my stand, it will obviously ping me a notification and I can get up and stand and complete those rings. So yeah, as you can see, not using it for anything like hiking or anything like that, anything adventurous or ultra adventurous. It's just really for keeping track of my day-to-day health and fitness in that respect. Okay, so other things that I use the Watch Ultra for is notifications. Now, I don't use massive amounts of notifications. I try to keep it quite minimal, but I do get things like messages. I do get some social media on there. So Instagram, for instance, probably should think about turning those off. I don't get my mail on there. I do get phone calls, just the kind of core notifications. And the reason for that being is I don't want it to distract me constantly. So, you know, every time a notification goes off, you know, you're raising your wrist and it's distracting you from doing other things, especially when you're in a deep work kind of session. You don't really want that. And it's easy enough to turn off the notifications, so you can have it as minimal as you want, or you can have as many coming through as you want as well. And then there's on to a couple of extra little features that I find really helpful. One of them is setting timers. So when I'm cooking specifically, I use my Apple Watch Ultra to set a timer. So I will just ask Siri to set a timer for me. And then I can crack on with doing other bits, whether it's finishing off prep or going off and doing something else. And then it will just go off and I can come back and do whatever I need to do at the end of the timer. I also set alarms, so This is good for if you want to set an alarm during the day to remind you to do something, or if you're one of those people that sleep with your watch, then you can set an alarm and it will wake you up quietly. So it's especially useful if you are, your partner is not getting up at the same time as you and you don't have a loud alarm that's going off. Another nifty little feature that I do use, and that is the camera control. So this is really useful for me, especially as I film on my iPhone currently. So I can check on my watch to make sure that it's all set up correctly, but also hit record and stop recording at the same time. You can also do this for photos. So if you're taking a family shot, you can use it. So moving on to things that I don't use on my Apple Watch Ultra. So I do not use it currently for sleep tracking. I don't particularly like wearing a watch when I go to bed, and I tend to charge my watch overnight because the battery life compared to other watches like the Garmin is not as great, to be honest with you. You are going to have to charge this every 1 to 2 days. So I just do it at night, which is another reason why I don't wear it to bed. But I have done before and it does do sleep tracking pretty well. So overall, that is it. I don't use it for much more than that. It is really a tool for me to track my health and fitness, keep on top of notifications when I need to, and to use for some of the useful features like we've mentioned, that timers, alarms, and the camera control. So like I said, you don't need to have an Apple Watch Ultra for this. Any of the Apple Watches will do this, but that's how I use it. I use it as an additional tool. So that's it for today's video. I'd really love it if you could leave a comment and tell me how you use your Apple Watch Ultra, because I'm always interested to see how people use their tech. But yeah, if you'd like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up and a subscribe. It really helps this small channel and hopefully grow into something a bit more. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.